Welcome to the Master Dealmaker's Secrets podcast. And now, here's sales growth strategist, John Blake.
Welcome to Master Dealmaker's Secrets. I'm John Blake. This is episode 128, and today I'm really excited because I'm having Jade Green on the show with us. Jade, I appeared on Jade's podcast a couple of months back, and she agreed to come on Master Dealmaker's Secrets, and what she shares today is some incredible information about how to build a kick-ass team. There's so much that Jade has got to share. We're actually going to do this in two parts. So we're going to do part two in the coming weeks, but I think you're going to get a stack out of this one. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff that I talk about when I talk to clients about hiring, building teams and culture, but Jade just takes it to a whole other level because that really is her core area of expertise. As I share, I'm a reluctant recruiter and a reluctant, person when it comes to culture, even though I know how to do that stuff and we do it routinely, but we really go deep into this, and I think there's a whole bunch of gold in there. So I reckon you will absolutely enjoy that. But first, if you have got lead flow, you want to convert more of those leads into paying clients, I want you to head over to johnblakeaudio.com and get your free audio training where I show you the exact strategy that you can use to double sales with your existing leads. So this is the exact same strategy that I work with all of the clients in my mastermind, and it works. It gives you consistent results. You can teach it to somebody who will also get the exact same result. It's very easy to use. It's very easy to teach, and it is over at johnblakeaudio.com. Get the training. What you'll also get is a PDF guide that has the exact word-for-word email templates, the exact word-for-word scripts that you can use on the phone and when you email, plus exactly when to call and when to email over a 90-day period. So it is over at johnblakeaudio.com. Get it, download it, use it, and then tell me how you went with it. Thank you. And I look forward to talking to you on the next podcast. Enjoy the interview with Jade. Okay, so really excited because I have got Jade Green with me on today's podcast. We're going to be talking about how to build a kick-ass team. So, bit of background about Jade. Internationally, Jade is recognized as the host of surf and business podcast Barrels and Business, a transformational teacher. She's certified both as a Mind Valley and a Genius Group trainer. She's a best-selling author, a global speaker, a learning junkie, spiritual being, a surfer, an adventurer, and to her clients, she is a fluffy baseball bat-wielding, rule-breaking, serial entrepreneur that can't help but pull others into the success mountain through accountability, mindset, and knowledge. Jade is able to combine 2 decades of experience building businesses with proven methodologies to get you the results that you need. She's been honored as one of Startup Daily's top 50 women entrepreneurs under 40. She received 2 Bronze International Stevie Awards for women in business, and her search firm, Velocity Consulting, was the very first business to receive investment from the Entourage Growth Fund. So her journey from training from trailer to trauma to triumph is exactly what has enabled her to help others at a higher level. Now the journey is yours. With the clarity on how to build the business and the lifestyle you love, it's only a matter of, or a question of whether you're ready to build a kick-ass team. Jane's mission is to help purpose-driven business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches to scale their companies so they can achieve the impact they deserve by creating productive and profitable teams. So as you can see, Jade has got an incredible background. She brings a wealth of knowledge to today's conversation, and I am super excited to have her on today's podcast. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. That's super awkward to listen to, isn't it?
It's like who wrote that?
Definitely not me. It's really funny because I was working with one of the another coach that I'm pulling in to work with on my program to use their psychologist background with building the teams, and she was going through my strengths profile We were doing a debrief on my Strength Finder, my Gallup Strength Finder profile yesterday. And I'm like, stop. I don't know. Like, words of affirmation are my primary love language.
Yep.
And I like to give them. It just feels really like, she's like, but these are such beautiful, amazing strengths. I'm like, okay, good now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
like my cat. Like if you pat it too much, it runs away.
Yeah.
It's like, it's too much love. I'm leaving now.
I'm like, I need it, but I don't know. But
yeah. That's very, very
but
cat.
yeah, it was very cat. Oh no, I don't know about that.
So look, I'm super excited because I, admittedly, even though I have people that help me with producing my podcast, with writing, with graphic design, with accounting, I've got a team. But for a lot of the operational stuff that I do, I'm essentially an army of one. So I'm really excited about today because I was like, I've been dealing with your VA and part of me is like, oh gee, maybe I should have one of them. So,
you don't have one of them?
No, I don't.
Oh, you hear me say this really often. I couldn't do life without Kay.
Yeah.
How could I do life without Kay?
Yeah.
And I always message her on a Friday to say, thank you so much for being the epic human that you are, which is usually 10 seconds later than she thanked me for like giving her the opportunity. I'm like, damn it, she got in first again.
Yeah.
But I honestly, it's like, I would just, I don't know how I'd function without her.
Yeah. Well, we've talked before. I was on your podcast, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and we talked about the fact that I find myself in situations where I'm a bit of a reluctant recruiter. You've got that in your background. I also find myself doing culture stuff reluctantly because I'm very aware of the fact that it's very difficult to. It's like spraying paint onto rust if you've got a crap culture. And there are some, there are some businesses that I've dealt with where the rot has set in so significantly that their training investment is just a total waste of time,
Yeah.
So I've had that happen a number of times. So, in terms of building a kick-ass team, what are some of the things that people need to think about? I guess firstly, what someone's trying to build a business, they want to build a team, they're in a situation where they need to build a great team. What are some of the mistakes that they make?
Some of the mistakes they make really early on is they hire too fast in terms of they haven't really thought through what they really need. And who they really need to be able to get the right person on board, and they haven't set them up for success. And I think we talked about this on the podcast as well, in terms of they hire a salesperson and that person fails because they've actually not given them any systems to back them up. So what I really encourage people to do is stop and do a task audit of everything that you need done in your business, and don't just straight away offload something that you don't want to do without doing the work up front, but also look at what the low hanging fruit is. And often someone's like, and we see this, we'll reference sales because that's something we talked about previously, right? Maybe it's in the owner's, not their natural flow to do sales, or they feel like it takes too much time and or it is their flow and they think that's the easiest thing to hire because it's easy for them, so it'll be easy for somebody else. Yeah. But if we went and did a task audit of all the things that's getting done and what's actually keeping them busy, there probably is a lot more lower hanging fruit that you could offload time so that you could spend your time in the genius zone or spend the time creating the right system to set up that high level person for success. It's really funny because I was actually training the Kick-Ass Team group this morning on the tour of duty task audit. So a tour of duty is my version of a job description. It's that next level, deconstructing the old norms and stops people from just ripping a job description from the internet, which is another common problem because it's got a label that kind of looks like it, and it makes them really think about what is the purpose of the role, what is the painted picture of success, who is the person that's going to be most relevant for it.
Yep.
But to get to that, we do a task audit of all the things that need to be done, and then map out what is the profile type and the energy that role needs to be, or that task needs to get the best out of that and to get it done.
Yep.
And who is the best person to do it. And then you can kind of go, am I in flow doing it, or the person that's currently doing it in flow or out of flow?
Yep.
And is it in their competency level or not in their competency level? And then sort of like a pay scale rate as well, like how easy would this to be offloaded? And often you can look at that. And we did this for one of my clients' community managers. And now they would have put her, she was actually the lowest paid person in the team, just based on how high the coaches were and everything in that team.
Yep.
But when we went, well, we looked at her task order. It's like she is a fire people person energy, supposed to be doing a community manager role, but 80% of her time is doing steel-based, compliance-ish, like operational, like tasks, completely at opposite to her personality profile, and actually not what the purpose of that role was, and wondering why she was getting bogged down, feeling stressed out, feeling like she was failing because it took her a lot longer to do some of this stuff, and it really sucked her energy.
Yeah.
And by going, actually, if we offloaded all that, which were really quite simple, repetitive tasks to a VA, which we did at, I think it was $6 an hour, it's freed up. She told me this morning it freed up 20 hours of her week. Wow. She got rid of 20 hours of out of flow basic work that could be done $6 an hour, which and she felt stoked because it's given someone that didn't have a job right now in another country because of COVID, a job, and they're super stoked.
Yeah.
Right. And now she's got 20 hours to go back to actually managing the community and finding new speakers and doing the things that is in flow that were actually much better value use of her time.
Wow.
Right. So but before doing that, it might have been like, oh no, we need another community manager because that person's not getting to all the tasks. No, you don't need another community manager at hypothetically between 50 and 65,000 when you can get someone for 20 hours a week, $6 an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And you know
weaponize the people you already have and get them in their genius zone. Same with a business owner, like, oh my God, I want to get my hands on you and get you a VA. I can't believe you're doing all the shit that you do. Right. And it might be, and I say shit, but not necessarily shit, like to Kay, it is totally in her profile to coordinate calendars, organize things, like do that stuff. For me, that's just hell. You know, I don't read email, but she's all over it and she loves doing it. Yeah. It's good work for her. Whereas in a previous role she was in, she was being forced to do more creative stuff that wasn't in her flow. She's very creative in terms of Canva stuff, but the thinking.
So you profile, you sort of put everyone through a profile, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And even before that though, you profile so understanding profiling and profiling the tasks, so you know what type of behavior type and personality type is going to be in flow doing those tasks first.
So you're mapping the tasks with the best person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And most importantly, also for you as as the leader, how do you free up your time so you've got more time doing only what you can do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that you are in flow.
Love that.
But it makes it really easy then also to write the right job descriptions, because the problem we find is you get someone to write the job description, and if they're a more steady, considered, detail-orientated, facts, figures, structure person, and they write a job description for a salesperson, the salesperson reads it and goes, ugh, that sounds boring as shit. And look at all the compliance stuff I need to do, and yuck.
Yeah.
Right? Vice versa, you get someone who's the owner, who's a salesperson personality, bubbly, oh my God, everything's amazing, this is fantastic, and we're going to join our epic team and fucking blah, blah, blah. And you're writing it for your bookkeeper or your accounts payable and accounts receivable. And they're reading that going, I don't want to go work for them, they're a bunch of crazy people.
So that's something that you don't hear people talking about much at all. It's like in your actual copy, you actually want to speak to the profile of the person that you're actually looking to hire.
The psychology of selling. This is what I want. This is what people miss most when it comes to advertising, right? It's an advertisement, not a list of demands, right? So too many people are still caught up in the, I pay the money, here's my list of demands, you do the thing.
That's huge. That's so huge, because it's probably written by, it could be written by a full sort of, left brain analytical person, and you're trying to actually appeal to a salesperson or someone who's creative. They're going to read that and go, what? I don't want to work there. It sounds like the people that work there are stiffs.
They're not my people. So the thing is, right, you really need to remember you're selling an opportunity, and what you're asking in return for that is someone to buy that with the most valuable resource they have in their life, their time. And you're asking for usually the biggest chunk of time they even have in their life, right? If we think about work and you look at your work day or your work week, the majority of your time is doing work. So if you're selling this opportunity, this job, then, and you want a superstar, you want a hero, you want someone that's got your back, that goes above and beyond, like all the things we talk about, what we really want in a new hire, especially a salesperson, right? You've got to think about, why should they work for you? And how are you going to demonstrate? How are you going to speak their language? It's got to be the full campaign, the way you would advertise and market for a new customer. You need to profile you have to create your avatar. Who is your ideal candidate? Rather than customer, who's your ideal candidate? And how are you going to create a direct marketing campaign? Because I don't know about you, but usually really good salespeople, they have jobs, they've got people headhunting them for jobs, and they've got opportunities, or they can start their own business. True. So you usually, if you're going to put a job on an active job board, the only time they're going to see it is when their boss has pissed them off so much, they've actually gone, fuck it, I'm going to look for something. Yeah. Right. So there's a window of time, or somebody sent them the ad and said, hey, this looks like you.
And that really is the avatar. That's like, okay, well, especially in a really, tough job market, where there's not that many people, where lots of people are employed and there's not that many people who are looking around for another job. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so important. Is okay, who do we want?
The market is always candidate poor for the top quality talent.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that.
Because everyone wants the unicorn, right?
Yeah.
Unicorns always have opportunity. They're either making it themselves, they've got a network, or they're employed. Even if they don't love where they are, someone doesn't want to lose them yet.
Yeah.
So you've got to present an opportunity that makes them make the biggest decision of their life to walk away from whatever they already have. You've got to convince them the grass is greener. But that, when you think about the avatar as well, you've got to think, like any direct marketing campaign, just putting it in the classifieds, or putting it on an active job board, that's not where they hang out. Where do they hang out? Yeah. How do you even get this opportunity in front of them? And how do you get the copy to scream at them that we are your people? Like, we are the prize, come fetch us.
Yeah, that's huge. So look, to summarize a couple of things that you've said so far is like, create the the avatar, the profile, the person that you want, mm-hmm. and then match, once you've actually got them, make sure that the tasks that you're giving them are actually in their wheelhouse. But most mm-hmm. importantly, from a recruiting perspective or from an advertising perspective, treat this person that you're actually looking to attract just like you would, treat that process just like you would if you were actually advertising a product to get a new customer.
Yeah. So I talk about like creating an employee success journey, like just the same as what you would have a client journey, a customer journey. What's the process? How do you get in front of them? How do you get them to even know who you are? How do you nurture that lead to get them to turn them into a prospect, which is apply, to then manage them through the process from application to interview to offer, which turns them into the customer or your now team member.
Yeah.
And then after that, how do you make sure they don't want a refund and go, see ya?
Yeah, I love the idea of the employee success journey, because one of the things that we talk about with companies that are hiring salespeople is you actually need to have a process where you're bringing them up to speed and they are actually making sales within a pre-defined time period. It's like they should know about the product, they should know about your process, and they should be making sales ideally within the first 30 days.
Yeah. Well, I'd even say the thing is you should hire someone 3 months before you need them to be like at full capacity of achieving their KPIs.
Yeah.
Because there's that period of especially if you want them to be culture integrated, right? And so it's not like herding cats in the long term, because they're not doing things against culture, because culture is what people do when you're not watching as the owner.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you set them up for success and give them that on-ramp? But most importantly, that first 90 days, 80% of people who change jobs in the first 90 days are looking for a new job because they want a refund. You're not delivering what you sold them.
Wow.
Right. And when they've already made the biggest decision of their life at that time to quit wherever they were or say no to something, that's when they're most vulnerable to be swooped up by a headhunter or by another opportunity, or they're like, do you know what I mean? They're not embedded in yet. You need to convince them they've made the right decision.
I love what you said there. Culture is what people do when you're not watching.
Yeah.
So true. That is so true.
Because everyone's like, oh, culture is like ping pong balls and, bean bags. No.
Space invaded machines and yeah.
No. They're rewards. It's how they operate, how they behave, like how they handle a customer. Yeah. What do they do in a situation? Do they tell little white lies? Like if the leader demonstrates that lying or fudging the truth is okay in another area of the business, you can't expect a salesperson not to do that to get a lead across the line because you've modeled that behavior. So how do you instill that? And it's the first 3 months that does that. So making sure you've got an onboarding success system to set them up, and making sure, as you know, it takes ages to even find somebody to put them through interview process. So you need to start hiring an avatar, like creating your lead list well before you need them to manage your leads.
I always talk about people need to have a virtual bench.
Yeah, just like your football team.
Yeah,
100%.
So you need to have half a dozen people that you could call on at any time if you have a vacancy, because the last thing that you want is, oh no, we need someone. Does anyone know anyone?
Anyone got a quarterback? We're kind of screwed. We don't have our quarterback.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Where'd you find him? Oh, he was friends with our secretary's brother. They used to go to primary school together. Right.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a job for a while, so yeah.
Where does he live? Not sure. He might be homeless, actually.
But it's okay. We have a shower here. So yeah. But this is why when you do the task audit, if say your quarterback position is your lead salesperson, right?
Yep.
And you lose your lead salesperson.
Yep.
And you're like, holy shit. Don't like knee-jerk reaction, try and stick a linebacker. I used to play American football. So yeah, I used to be a running back. Wow. Your running back may be able to be your quarterback, but I guarantee your linebacker is not your woman. So you have to look at the task and go, okay, maybe I'm the best person because that's my business, or I'm the leader, or I'm the sales manager. Maybe I'm the best person to step in and sub in for that role until we find the right person. Because the damage to the brand, if we put someone that's totally out of flow, out of scope into it's damaging. But I'm so busy. that's where you'd look at it and go, where can I get rid of other tasks to free you up, because you are the best person to be in that position right now. And that might be like, VAs, administration assistants, outsourcing certain things, like looking at bringing a consultant that can pick up one part of the process as a short-term gap fill until you find that right person.
Yeah.
Because especially bringing, like, and I'm sure you've seen this, if you bring a superstar salesperson or quarterback into the team and they're not in line with the culture, that's your cancer.
Yeah.
And that can
So
kill.
true. I've seen that happen so many times. Like,
Yeah,
it's crazy. That can really wreak havoc in so many different organizations.
Yeah. And then the cost, then the knock-on costs of that is just ridiculous. So it's really like, it really can be, you think that, I'm going to lose these sales by not having this person. But if you think about it, if you get the wrong person, they lose the sales anyway, and you lose Billy and Sally and Tim along the way, or lose their trust and their integrity and belief in you, then it all falls apart.
And I've seen it happen heaps of times where you have one person who was the wrong pick, who was like, that cancer, and then you take that person out, and it's like the people that are left like develop a totally different persona. It's like they actually bloom into these people that you just never even knew existed, because they were being so stifled by by this other poison energy that was in the organization. So
we've just seen that in another team, and it was a salesperson, but it was having a knock-on effect to everybody around them. And it was like they felt somewhat bullied or belittled. There was the toxic commentary, the negativity towards management, trying to rally people against, like to use their polarizing personality to force what they wanted. And it was just all sorts of yuck. And when we introduced the virtues to the business, the new virtues, and this is how we roll, that person self-selected themselves out. And I got a call from one of the team members like 2 days later going, oh my God, it's just like a different place. It's like, she goes, I just don't know how to explain it. It's like it feels different in here.
We often will run when I walk into a culture, a business, I can see there's something wrong with the culture, is we'll do like a team code of conduct. And which it sounds like it's similar to your virtue process. And at the end of that, like, people either step up because now it's very clear what's expected, or they step off.
That's what I say. Step up or step out.
And either way, like, either outcome's perfect. I mean, you don't really want a whole bunch of people to leave, but I always prepare the owner. I go, hey, this process, people are either going to step up or they're going to get off.
I usually say expect about a 20% churn. But the rest of the team respect you so much more. And often it's actually the best thing for that person as well, because if they've been in a rub or it was causing them to sit in a certain heightened state, it's actually not good for either party. So it is actually with love that you should encourage them along, even if it's a bit painful at the time.
Totally agree. So the culture thing, I reckon you would have seen it as well, where you get there's a problem with the culture, but the person that is the direct cause of the problem is the owner.
Yes. Well, they say the fish rots from the head down. There's a really good book called What You Do Is Who You Are. And what that means is who you are as a business is a direct relation to what you do as a leader. And that's what I was saying before. If you say honesty and integrity and loyalty is like one of our values, and it's here on them all, and it's in our marketing brochure. And we expect all of our salespeople to act with authenticity and like all that. But then the owner is banging the secretary behind his wife's back.
And everyone knows about it.
And everyone knows about it. then
everyone always knows about it.
Everyone knows about it because one day you pissed the secretary off and she's blabbed to her best friend because she's crying and blah, blah, blah. And he said he's going to leave the wife. Anyway, but that just destroyed everything you've said there.
Yeah.
About honesty and treasury and lying. That's an extreme situation. But another situation could be a sales manager, you know, when they kind of fudge numbers, sandbag for the end of the month, and you know, like that's a form of lies and deceit, right?
It is.
So if that behavior is modeled by the leader, you can't expect the team to model anything else.
No.
Like, I'm sorry, do as I say and not as I do doesn't work. And if you're a parent, you've probably figured that out.
Yeah. So true. So true. So yeah, the culture thing. We could keep talking about that forever because there's just so many different examples that we can apply. A couple of the other things that you said that the virtues, culture is what people do when you're not watching. Weaponizing your people, like playing to their strengths. That can make a huge difference to someone's experience at work and also to the overall results of the business for sure.
We'll think about it again. Go back to a football team scenario. Well, let's switch codes. Let's go to soccer, right? Say you've got your goalie, and you've gone, our goalie's really shit at striking. Let's work on his striking. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Or do you go, we've got a really good striker. Let's work on his striking. Not let's stick him in the nets and see how many balls he can cop in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, figure out what the genius is of your people and amp that up.
Well, I get this thing all the time, where, and probably I reckon 3 or 4 times a year I get this, where, because the accounting world is in a very precarious place, in terms of the evolution of their industry, because programs like Xero automate everything. You've got bank feeds, data entry is not an issue. You can just look at top line stuff, and it's just it's taken so much of the compliance, the billable compliance work out of it, and so you can
have a K that manages all of that, and then you don't even have to touch it until the last minute when you talk to the accountant.
Precisely, right? So I get these accounting firms that are like, okay, well, we need to ramp up the advice part of our business, because they actually, some of them actually have had businesses, and some of them have got a lot of value that they can add, from an advice perspective. And so they come in and they go, look, we've got, 20 accountants here, and they've read a book somewhere or seen a video or something that says everybody needs to be a salesperson. And so they're like, we need to train all of our accountants to be salespeople. And I've been doing this for like 17 years. And I'm like, I tell you how that ends.
In everybody in tears and bottles of scotch, drowning in a bottle of scotch.
I'll tell you how it goes, and I'll tell you how it ends. This is how it goes. All of your accountants will do a really good job of pretending that they're excited about that. Some of them will do a not so good job, but the majority of them will do a good job of pretending that they're excited about that. And then they will sit very attentively and they'll take lots of notes. And then they will
They're very good at note keeping.
They will all make a commitment to becoming, to talking to clients and suggesting additional products and services, and taking them through a structured process at the front end of their engagement. They'll all make commitments to do that. And then here's what's actually really going to happen. When we come back and ask them how they went 2 weeks later, they're going to say, I've been too busy. What have I been doing? I've been too busy doing accounting things, because that's what I'm paid here. That's what I'm paid to do. So I'm not going to subordinate this other stuff. I'm not going to subordinate this stuff to do that other stuff. And the reason is because they don't want to be a salesperson. They didn't study to be a salesperson. They probably hate salespeople. They don't understand it. They have absolutely no desire whatsoever to become good at it. Occasionally, you might find a unicorn. So these days, I'll say, look, I'll tell you what, I'll interview all your people, and if there's any that I think actually have, are a bit of a unicorn and have a predisposition to be able to do some of this stuff, I said, I'll tell you who they are, but I can guarantee you that almost no one is going to fit that category.
The only one that is the poor person that was should all over as a teenager because their dad was an accountant and their dad's dad was an accountant and then their dad was a lawyer, and there's this long line of professional services, and so you go to school, you get good grades, you go to university, you get good grades, and then you get a good stable job that's respectable. And so you've got some poor kid that's been pushed through this process and doesn't want to disappoint mum and dad. So they try really, really hard. They're really, really suppressed and oppressed. And if they stay being an accountant, in about 5 years' time, it's going to turn out to be one of those midlife crises where everything that goes in the air and they go on sabbatical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've been going against their flow for so long. But then if you can spot that genius and go, actually, you're not the number person, you're the people person.
Yeah.
You could be offering them a lifeline, but there's very few
of
them.
But
they
so
usually
rare.
break before.
It's so rare.
They usually break somewhere in university, don't get there, or into their first 2 years of an internship.
But it's literally like trying to teach a fish to run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not.
Well, I say, Albert Einstein says, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it spend its whole life thinking it's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And that's why I love the idea of, weaponizing your people. It's such an empowering way of saying, hey, build on people's strengths, point them in the direction that they want to go in.
Yeah.
I say, you know what? People say to me all the time, they go, are salespeople born or are they made? And I'm like, well, yeah, people have a predisposition for it, for sure.
Mm.
And what they probably saw and heard from their parents growing up and all the rest, so there's certain amount of stuff that gets transferred. But beyond that, if you want to become a proficient salesperson, I can teach you to become a proficient salesperson. But you need to want to.
Yeah, you could be a proficient salesperson for a short period of time if it's against your natural personality.
Yeah.
But then shit goes south.
Yeah. But if you have a deep desire to want to become good at sales,
yeah,
I can help you to become proficient at sales. If you have no desire whatsoever,
if you hate talking to people,
exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Then it's probably not going to work out that well.
I had a recruiter once, and she said to me, she goes, I just fucking hate people. I hate candidates. I just fucking hate people. I'm like, I feel like candidate manager is not really the job you're supposed to be in, babe.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? And she's like, yeah, maybe not. I'm like, let's do something about that. Let's turn you into a BDM.
I'm getting a sense. I'm just getting a sense.
Maybe it's
I don't know
all of the candidates going, why is she so rude to me? You got a high, like on a disc scale, a super high D. Like this just doesn't tolerate any fools.
Yeah, that's it. And is that the profile that you typically use, disc?
I use disc as a basic level.
Yep.
So what I usually use is from 13 years in headhunting and recruitment, and specifically in sales, I've been around every profiling you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
But I decided to get certified as a performance and flow consultant in the wealth dynamics, talent dynamics system, because I found those 8 profiles really, they were really spot on, but people really got them and could understand them. But that system also has the basic levels of energy types so that you can just basically assign the energy of each task. So you can go, if this is a steel-based task, which would be a mechanic, a lord, or an accumulator, which is more in your compliance. So your accountants, your lawyers, your programmers.
So which profile is that?
So that's the talent dynamic system. Talent dynamics, wealth dynamics. So wealth dynamics is done for business owners and entrepreneurs. Talent dynamics is done for the employees.
Is it the same mob? It's that guy.
Same mob. Roger James Hamilton.
That guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, who wrote the Millionaire Master Plan.
Yeah.
It's based on it's based on I Ching and like the ancient Chinese methodologies and behavioral and Chung's
I knew
behavior
I'd heard
types.
it before, and I've actually done his I've done his entrepreneur one. I've just never seen his talent one.
Yeah, so the wealth dynamics one is what would be for the entrepreneurs and the leaders. The talent dynamics, it's the same profiling. It's just the strengths and how to manage that. It's just the reporting and the system that sits underneath it for the management of it is a little bit different. But if you know that, like, so then you've got your 4 core energy types to profile your tasks, and you can go, okay, well, look, maybe doing the accounting is best by a Lord profile. It's definitely a steel energy, but a mechanic could do it because they've got, especially a mechanic who's got a strong steel energy, but they can lean into it. They know how to get themselves into it. Or an accumulator who can lean up into, again, the Lord and the steel, but trying to get a star who's on the opposite side of the quadrant, who's like your people person, your ideas, your talker, shit attention to detail. Maybe one of them on this podcast right now. Yeah. The thought of staring at zero makes someone vomit, and lystexia might be high. Like it's, trying to get them to do that task.
Even the way you said that, lystexia.
Oh my gosh. Do you know what? I'm so allergic to zero. The other day I was on my team call. I was trying to put the tasks, and we've now discovered Jade doesn't do the tasks when on team calls. We takes that. I'm trying to write it, and I'm trying to write zero, and I get the R in the wrong spot 3 times. 3 times. And Kay's just like, would you like me to do that for you? I'm like, yes, please. At least I was spelling it with a Z though, because I was like, actually zero rather than zero.
Yeah.
I was like, I got that far. But,
I love that. Lystexia.
Yeah. It's like, watching me type is painful. That's why everything is voice messaged with me.
Yeah, that's
like
good.
Everyone knows that's the best way. I can read most of the time, but trying to type something out is just beyond painful. So we've worked systems to weaponize my genius. Like someone gets on, and like my team will get on Zoom with me and we'll go through it, and they'll record it, or they'll take the notes and they'll transcribe it, or I voice message everything, or I do a Zoom or a Loom recording, rather than trying to, like, it just doesn't happen.
You're playing to your strengths.
Yeah.
Awesome. So look, there's so much in this, right from the very starting, the starting point of, okay, so if you're looking at hiring somebody to help you, like somebody else on this call might be doing.
Let me just like, wait. And then we do this. While you're doing that, I go like this. I go, hey babe, can you send John the tour of duty task audit template, please? He needs it desperately. Thanks, babe. And that's how that thing's done.
Thank you. So that's number one, the task audit, and then creating the profile of the person that you want, and then matching the tasks up with the actual profile of the person that you want.
Yes.
And creating an ad that speaks the language of the person that you're looking to attract. I think that's huge. Couple of those profiling tools that you can start to actually, I have one that I use with salespeople, which is pretty good. But in terms of adding some science to the hiring process, and then we've also got the interview process, and then from there we've got the training part and the lead part, which we might have to cover on a part 2 if you're open to it.
Yeah, I'd be more than open to that,
because you've shared some incredible stuff, and this is so relevant to not just myself, but so many of the different people that I'm working with, and I think it'll it'll add another dimension to some of the conversations that I'm having with clients. So it's super valuable, Jade. So if people, there's a couple of different places that they can find you. There's Hire, Train, Lead on that. So there's a Facebook group for that. There's obviously Jade Green that they can connect with you. And then there's bit.ly, so bit.ly/hire train lead. And that'll probably take you to a central place.
That goes straight to our free Facebook group.
Yep.
And in that free Facebook group, there's actually, we were supposed to pull it out, but it's still there, a full session, an ad writing masterclass that covers how to write one of those ads.
Yep.
But I'm dropping in there all the time, different templates and these sorts of tools. So it's a great way to get access to that. But also people are more than happy to give feedback. Like if you've got an ad and you're like, oh, do you reckon it's not my profile?
Oh, they'll give you feedback on the ad. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Brilliant.
So that's just a super handy place if you're hire, training or leading any teams at the moment.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for being on. When we do part 2, I'll allow some more time because there's so much more things that we can talk about. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of this stuff at the front end, which I think is just gold. But when we do part 2, we can talk about the training and leading part of it. And probably wrap up the hiring part of it as well, I think, because there's a few bits and pieces we could.
There's a few little pieces there around the interview process.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Unreal, Jade. Thank you so much. And we'll look forward to part 2.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Cool. Thanks, Jade.
Thanks,
see you later.
You've been listening to Master Dealmaker's Secrets with John Blake. Subscribe to get more in-depth strategies to maximize your sales process with new episodes every week. And double your inquiry to sale conversion with the lead flow you already have. Go to johnblakeaudio.com for his exclusive free no fluff audio training and companion PDF guide.